Hello, Heavens High YouTube community. I'm here to share about our own wonderful imagination and how our thoughts create our reality. So, I've been really into studying this specific aspect of life, which is exploring how our thoughts have a huge effect on our reality. And I feel all of us can admit that our thoughts matter, but how much do our thoughts matter is, I guess, the question that I'm going to explore here. And I'm just going to flow. I'm not really referencing anything, but I have a spark coming from the heart that desires to share the good news or the bad news, depending on how you choose to utilize your own marvelous mind. So, on that note, let's begin. Welcome to this video. Where do we start? Okay, well, we're going to start at non-duality, which is a concept that I've been obsessed about for the past decade almost. All you hear of me is talking about non-duality, and sharing all these teachers and how all these teachers impacted my reality, such as Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj. These are a few that come to mind right away, which are called masters of our time. And I basically got obsessed with studying this, and that then led to hearing about self-inquiry, which is the practice that all of these beings prescribe to people that are willing and ready to explore this level of consciousness. And so we could say, practicing this self-inquiry and realizing that I am the awareness, I am the consciousness, I am the field, I am the space, I am the silence that is prior to thinking. And I remember, and I was also reading Eckhart at the time a lot, A New Earth and The Power of Now. And yeah, I was just at that place in my life where I was ready to see that I am prior to my thought, my body, mind, and that the world is actually in me. The world isn't a real tangible thing. The world is something that we're constantly creating, and we're all in our own world. Like that saying when it's like, oh, he's just in his own world, or she's just in her own world. It's true. We're all in our own world based on what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what energy we are embodying. Whatever we're creating in our imagination is the world that we're creating. And one of the most known hermetic laws or principles is as within, so without. So your world is simply a reflection of what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and then also what actions you're taking. So non-duality got me rooted in the fact that I am consciousness, but I feel like the pieces, I just stopped there, and I was very much in the mode of negation of oh no, thoughts are bad things, they're dangerous, because masters that I was studying kind of had that attitude of like, ignore your thoughts. And that was helpful at that time because, in a sense, like, my thoughts were what got me into certain scenarios in my life, where I guess a lack of self-control and self-correction of my thoughts got me into places that I didn't want to be, and led me in situations that I wouldn't I wouldn't want to put on anybody. And so I got it that I existed prior. And so I've kept on the path. And as I've been exploring this path, I did hear about a great teacher named Dr. Joe Dispenza, who you may have been aware of. You may be aware of. He's a great teacher, and I think he's one of the best in the way that he's able to clarify what's going on here. So I heard about Dr. Joe, and I was listening to him years ago, and then I just didn't do any of his meditations really. Like, I was reading his books, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Becoming Supernatural. I was listening to podcasts, and I remember I was like going for runs, and at the time I was meditating when I ran. So I would just put headphones on and like go out to the woods, and that's when I was really listening to a lot of teachings because I was working a lot at the time. And I remember being a little bit like afraid, honestly, of and intimidated by what he was asking of me, which was like, okay, you got to meditate to get this. And it wasn't until I met Jade, who is my fiance. So many different ways we could say it, but when I met her, she was actually like doing Dr. Joe meditations, and it really had a positive effect on her life. So she ended up kind of reigniting this spark. And when I met her, I was still very like focused on what we call non-duality teachings. And I still am, and I still feel that they're, some of the highest level, if not the highest level of understanding of who we are as beings here in this infinite universe. But she reignited the spark specifically with Dr. Joe's teachings. And as you can see here, we've got books all around our house. This is You Are the Placebo. We have Becoming Supernatural there. We have all of them. And basically, I'm sharing all of this because it's giving a context to where the journey has led me. And now I'm at this point where I'm really interested in these specific teachings that Dr. Joe teaches, and he shares it in a very scientific way. And he does that purposely. But I'm also listening a lot to a teacher named Neville Goddard, who you may have heard of, and I highly suggest listening to him. And I also am quite a student of the I Am discourses, and you can check out a video that I've done on the I Am discourses, just kind of explaining what they are. So this is the I Am discourses right here, and it's a channeled text from Ascended Master Saint Germain, which is really just it doesn't matter the name of the person that we're channeling. It's more about like the level of consciousness, the channel that we're tuning into. And so I had a dear brother of mine a couple of years ago. He was like, you gotta listen to the I Am discourses, because I guess he saw what I was posting and sharing on my social media accounts. And I started listening to the I Am discourses, and it when I really got it and I really tuned in to what was being said, I was pretty blown away by these teachings. And basically, I'm sharing this because I've realized a similarity in the I Am discourses, in Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, in Neville Goddard's work, and that is that we are creating reality in every moment with our thought and our feeling. And the way Dr. Joe would say it is you have a clear intention and you have an elevated emotion. You have an electromagnetic signature. Your electrical signals are your thoughts, and then your magnetic feelings or your magnetic charges are your feelings and your emotional states. So Neville would also say that the feeling is the secret. And I've also done a video on Neville Goddard's book, The Feeling is the Secret, which I gifted to a dear brother of mine, which I give away a lot of my books, which I kind of half regret. But anyways, I'm also very interested in a teacher named R.J. Spina, who I just did read a meditation of his, and RJ says the exact same thing. And so it's like every teacher has their different flavor, but I'm interested in like what is the root similarities between all of these teachers that are like Neville Goddard's one of the most well-known metaphysical teachers of our time. Dr. Joe is an absolute legend and will be in the record book for this cycle of time, for being like a catalyst for people's power and self-healing. RJ is an amazing teacher. He healed himself of chest down paralysis, and the doctors basically said he was going to be paralyzed. And he said, I'm going to walk out of the hospital in 100 days. So to me, and he did, and then he started teaching. To me, this is the most miraculous thing, because they're literally what we call miracles. And we hear these teachings in the Bible of this character, Jesus Christ, that was healing the leopards. And I don't know about you, but I'm interested in these stories, and not only are they like mythological tales, they're actual facts now that are coming into creation through these teachings. And specifically Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of the ones that I'm like really interested in, because the truth of the self-healings that are happening, it's basically happening on a daily basis now. People that are really dedicating themselves to the work. And so a similarity I've noticed is that daily meditation practice has been very common between everybody that's healed themselves from like a pretty serious disease. And I'm just really interested in this because it's really important, I feel, and not just for like somebody that's spiritual, or I think this is something that everybody should know, is that your thought and your feeling state actually changes matter. Like your mind over matter, but it's not just a saying. It's an actual proven thing now, that it's being proven through Dr. Joe's work, but this is what all the teachers, are saying throughout the time. And so it's exciting because we have access to all these teachings, and I'll leave a little book list in the description here. But basically the commonality is that our imagination, our thoughts are so powerful that they can actually shape the way our life turns out, and that there is actually no limitation. The limits are only what we put on ourselves, and we are hypnotized by this quote unquote outside world, that it's like a real tangible thing, but it's actually all consciousness. It's all one mind, and we can like literally change matter by changing the field of consciousness, which is basically changing our thought and our feeling state. And so it's just really powerful and important, I feel, to really understand that we are creators of our reality, and that we are not victims, and that we have been given the gift, our God-given gift, our birthright, to start new in every moment, because we can change our thoughts now. No matter how much negative thoughts, self-hating thoughts, you can change now. And that's really empowering. And how do we change now? Is we start to change the way we think. And what I've realized after being immersed in these teachings so much is like, even though you have all of these teachings, it's still really hard to like positively think all of the time. And that's been a challenge for me, is like, yeah, I have all these teachers and these teachings, but there's still this specific voice, like a negatively polarized, like destructive voice that goes on, or that I'm aware of, and that I'm not necessarily identifying with, but I'm becoming even more aware of these negative voices. And so it's really important to be aware of what thoughts you're entertaining, because where we place our attention is where we place our energy. In other words, whatever thoughts you're feeding are the thoughts that you're giving your life, giving your I am presence to. And where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So whatever you feed is what is growing. And so that kind of dissolves the whole thing of shadow work, that shadow work is like this important thing, because in all of these teachings I don't hear anything about shadow work. I actually hear the opposite, which that's an interesting conversation. Like, is shadow work actually constructive? Because if you've been on the spiritual path, then you've definitely had people say like, oh, I've been doing shadow work for like years now. And it's like, is that actually helpful to you to be in that state, to continue to feel that you need to do shadow work? I think that's really important to get, because all of these teachers are saying, no, start to like feed positive thoughts, which will then feed positive emotions, and you don't have to worry about shadow work. It will just be sorted out by itself. Like it's a natural thing. Yes, be aware of these negative thoughts, but you don't identify with them and take them to be you. So anyways, to say all this is that the similarity, the fact of reality is that we are creating with our thought and our feeling. And the more that we charge our thoughts with our feelings, the more energy is being accumulated and put into that thought that is then going out as a signal into the universe, into the song, the one song that we all share, and then it comes back to you, which is also what we call karma or action. And action doesn't necessarily have to refer to like this action of I just picked up this torch. Action actually starts within your thoughts. So your thoughts are your first acts, and that's what is actually shaping what you go about doing in your day. Because we have a choice when we step back and become the awareness of our thoughts. We then have a choice of like, what thoughts do I act upon? Because it's like, am I going to go left at the lights or am I going to go right at the lights? And that's with anything of like breaking any habits that you feel have been, disturbing you through the years. Is we do have the power of choice to be like, I am not going to act on that thought anymore. I'm going to act on this thought, which is going to be more constructive, positive, healthy, whole, expansive route to go. So some of the studies that are coming out right now that Dr. Joe is facilitating are pretty profound. One of them I've been sharing a lot is that 45 minutes of gratitude. So 15 minutes 3 times a day, which is 45 minutes of feeling the state of gratitude or thankfulness. And it doesn't have to be this overwhelming ecstatic bliss. It can just be like a subtle thankfulness, like a slowing down. Oh, I'm grateful. Find things around you that you're grateful for. And that raises your immunoglobulin, which is your body's natural flu shot for your immune system, by 50%. And that's 50. So that's a huge, so that's literally your body's natural flu shot. So what Dr. Joe's proving with his work is that your brain is and your body is an apothecary. That just by intent, your intention is so powerful that it can change your biology, and your body can naturally create the chemicals that we would get from an outside substance, like taking a pill. But your body can just do that by thought, by the intent to do it. So listening a lot to Neville as well, he's basically saying that your imagination is the Christ. Your imagination is God. Because everything is God. Everything is love. God is love, and everything is love. God is the universe. And part of the universe, a big part of it that we must agree on, is that your thoughts are a huge companion with you. So is it not extremely important to understand this and to really get these teachings? Like, this should be taught in kindergarten. Literally, like, children should learn the power of their thoughts and how that has a huge impact on their lives. And because we share one consciousness, like, the thoughts that I'm thinking, the people across the globe in Australia are being affected by my vibrational field, because there's only one mind, there's only one being, there's only one consciousness. And so by the quantum entanglement, we know that just by thought alone, we can basically like send messages to each other, which is what we know as telepathy. But now we've externalized telepathy and put the crystal in our phone, and now we use our phones for telepathy, which these are beautiful technologies if they're utilized correctly, but they can, once again, without self-control, they can easily be abused. So I'm sharing this because it's such a huge part of my life, and it's always been a huge part of my life, whether I knew it or not, that my thoughts are creating reality. And so that can either be very disturbing news to people, or you can really utilize what I'm saying here as a very empowering message, depending on how you choose to take it. But now you have to take responsibility of your life once you actually accept that this is actually the way that reality works. The quantum model of reality is when you feel abundant, you magnetize abundance. When you feel love, you magnetize love. And that's with anything. So it's actually the feeling state, and then the universe is responding to the signature that you're being, your beingness, and it's giving you what you are, but just by like frequency and resonance. And the same thing in a negative way. If you're living in a state of worry, anxiety, you're just attracting more of that. It's just a fact of the universe, of the law of resonance, or what's been called the law of attraction. But I don't know if these law of attraction teachings have been taught correctly, because I don't know if they're like, there may be the underlying teaching that your thoughts are like important and what you think and this and that, but I don't know if it's so stressed in the way of like how important it is. So I feel that there's teachers that are really showing the way forward in a positive way, in an empowering way. And as I said, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, R.J. Spina, the I Am discourses, they're all related to that we have a say in our health. We are not victims. We have a say in our level of wealth that we can attract. And yes, there is aspects of life that we don't have control over. And yes, there is times where we just have to surrender. But if you do your best and you try at this, the universe will respond. But you have to try. You have to put in the work, so to speak. And it's tough work. This isn't easy. If it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be studying Dr. Joe or Neville, or this is a whole paradigm shift where we stop looking at the world as this like separate thing where the world is outside of me and there's nothing that I can control and I'm subject to everything. And it's disempowering to think that way. What is empowering is that I am the I am. And therefore, knowing that I am consciousness, then that must mean that I'm one with God and that I have a say here. And maybe when I change myself, then I can change the world, because by changing myself, I am changing the world, because the world is not different than me. There's only one being here. There's only one self. And so what if I can do this internal work and change myself, change my thoughts, and change my feelings, and start to really empower myself, then maybe that can empower people around me, and maybe that can plant a seed for someone else's life to then start living in this paradigm. And that's how we create a new earth, which is a very grassroots thing of like, hey, that man or that woman they're doing the work, they're actually changing their state of being, they're shifting their paradigm into more of an alignment with how the universe actually works in a quantum way, that there isn't really time. Like, time is an illusion where there, like, we use time as a way to like do activities in our day and things like that, but it's not an actual real tangible thing, and that we can actually like collapse space and time. And that's what a lot of this work is about, is going beyond space and time, collapsing it, dissolving it, and then becoming that consciousness. And then knowing that if our thoughts, if a new thought or a new potential will then create new actions, new experiences, new choices, then we can actually choose what thoughts we tune into, then that will change our whole trajectory of our life. And there will be a battle that goes on within you once you really start to break free, because this is all about freedom. This is all about becoming free, realizing that the I am in you is a free being and has free will, and we get to choose where we place our attention. And I've really been putting up boundaries in my life recently of like, I am not going to place my attention on that, because I don't see how that can serve something positive by talking about this thing or talking about the end of the world, or like, I just don't see the point in that. I've been through that. So it's been an act of self-love for me to stop giving life, my life force, my presence to certain things. And I'm also a student of life as well. Like, I I'm sharing this, but I equally don't know simultaneously. So it's that's a funny dance of having these teachings and really feeling the truth of them, and listening to testimonials of the truth of them, and how people are healing from stage 4 cancer, blind people seeing, paraplegics walking, just by the power of our imagination. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to end the video. There's so much I could share on this, and I could just go all day, but I kind of need a prompt, to be honest, at this point. Like, I would like to have a conversation about it. So if you've lasted with me through the video, please leave some comments below that we can actually have a communal conversation here. But this is just to ignite the flame in you if you feel resonant with this message. And what Neville says is that assume the state of your wish fulfilled and live from the end. So he met this man that basically told him he wanted to go to Barbados. And he was living in New York at the time, and this was before he even like heard any of this. And this man, Abdullah, basically told him, Neville, you have to already live as if you're in Barbados. See yourself walking the streets, and before you go to bed every night, plant these thoughts, these imaginations into your subconscious mind, where then that greater mind, aka our subconscious, will actually, because it's all one, it's gonna like change reality after you plant that intention and desire and do what you basically are planting in it. So he was like, seeing the palm trees, seeing the cobblestone roads, like the smells and visualization of already being there. And then he did that for, I think it was only like a week or so, every night, and he was living as if he was already in Barbados. And you can apply this teaching with anything in your life. So if there's something like a health problem you want to work on, or you're having problem with money, you can start to using your imagination, because the mind is everything, every thought, everything. You can change your mind, and that will actually change reality. And there's specific times of the day that you're more tuned into the subconscious mind, but we can actually use meditation to get into our subconscious, or alpha or theta or delta or gamma brain waves, which is what Dr. Joe teaches. Part of his meditation is like sensing space. And when you sense space, you basically go into alpha, which then you're opening the door to your subconscious. So we can do that on command. But before bed and when you wake up, the door's wide open. But Neville, that saying of live from the end and assume the state of your wish fulfilled, it's so beautiful, because it's basically saying that no matter what your senses are telling you of how your world is, like you're broke or you're unhealthy, that's not true. Because how can consciousness be broke? Consciousness is infinitely abundant. It is abundance itself. Consciousness, the spirit, can never be sick, because it's the spirit. It's not the body mind. So we have to really get this rooted, that of the truth of the matter, and then we can start to use our mind for the marvelous imaginative thing that it was designed for, to create. We are creators, and you better get used to yourself, because you're going to be with yourself for the rest of eternity. So why not get this now and come into alignment with the truth of things now, which is that we are making this all up. That is why it is called creation. That's why it's a play. The Vedas talk about Leela, how this is all a divine play. We are literally playing. So what are you playing with? And you're playing with your thought and your feeling. So what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you broadcasting out into the field that is then going to return to you by the universal law? So I hope this inspires you to, tune in a little bit more and really consider what is going on here. And have a wonderful day.